For this month's tip, we're going to talk about the three things that you can do to your property to raise the value and still not spend a whole bunch of money on expensive renovations. Tip number one, paint. It's the easiest one in the book. Now, when I talk about paint, I don't mean just paint the walls here and there. I mean paint the walls, ceilings, and trim, going all the way around. Typically, when I paint a house, on average, it will cost roughly $3,000 in labor to paint a 1,500 square foot property, plus approximately another $1,000 in materials and in paint. So let's say $4,000 total to paint one 1,500 square foot property, or if you have a 2-level or a 3-level home, most of the time each level winds up being approximately somewhere between 12 and 1,500 square feet. So if you have a 2-level house and you'd like to paint the whole thing on the interior, all you have to do is take $4,000 multiplied by 2, and there's the materials and labor to paint the whole interior of the property. Everybody always asks me to say, well, what color should I paint the walls? What color should I paint the trim? The best thing to do is to go neutral. Whether you're thinking about selling or staying in the house, I always recommend going with a nice neutral color, so that way it fits a lot of different tastes. The most popular color right now is called Agreeable Gray. You can get it at Home Depot, at Lowe's, or Sherwin Williams. Agreeable Gray is just a light neutral color that fits very, very well. When you're painting the trim, make sure to add some gloss so it pops and stands out. And remember to paint those ceilings as well. Most people don't realize that over time, ceilings tend to turn yellow and get discolored, and they look a lot better once you paint them a nice, crisp, bright white. Here's a pro tip. If you're already painting and you have the painters at the house, ask them to see if they can paint the kitchen cabinets as well. A lot of people want to renovate their kitchen, but replacing the cabinets can get expensive. Ask your painters if they can sand the top layer of the cabinet, prime it, and then repaint it. Typically, this costs about $1,000 in labor, right around there, depending on the size of the kitchen, and maybe another $500 to $800 in paint and supplies. While they're doing this, I would highly encourage you to also change out those cabinet fixtures. So the knobs, the hinges on the doors, which actually leads us to our second tip. Tip number 2, replace the light fixtures and the hardware around the house. What does that mean? Obviously, the light fixtures will be the lamps and the ceiling fans in the house, and the hardware will include everything from interior doorknobs to hinges that are for those doors, also the hinges and the doorknobs for the kitchen cabinets, along with, this is one that most people forget about, along with the outlets, the light switches, the light switch covers, and the outlet covers. Most people don't really pay attention to this until they start to look a little bit closer. And if there's an older house, what tends to happen is the plastic will begin to turn yellow. And even though it's very subtle, you'll be able to really tell the difference once you change out those light switches, light switch covers, and the plates that cover up those outlets. It's very inexpensive. A light switch is maybe between 50 cents and $1. It takes all of 3 minutes to change out, and it'll make a huge difference. While the painters are there, if you're getting the painters to change this out, or you can just make this a weekend project, while the painters are there, I would also recommend to replace the AC vents. They're only a couple dollars at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it will definitely make your property stand out. The third thing I'd recommend replacing that will bring the most value for the money that is spent is replacing the flooring. There are 3 different parts of flooring that I'll talk about today. Number 1, first is replacing the carpet. Carpet typically costs, let's say $2.25 per square foot to replace. So if a house is 1,200 square feet or the upstairs level is 1,200 square feet, it'll approximately cost $2,600 to replace the carpet. That's labor and the materials for an above average grade carpet. Most people now only replace the carpet upstairs in the bedrooms and maybe even in the hallways. So you shouldn't need too much carpet. Occasionally people will put carpet in the basement as well, but it is definitely a good thing to replace and brings a lot more value once that paint is done and the hardware is updated. When do you know when to replace the carpet. If you look around the baseboards, around the edges of the carpet, and it's starting to turn a darker color, that's when you know it's time to put in and replace that carpet. The second flooring that I recommend replacing is LVP. It's also stands for, I think it's luxury vinyl plank. It mimics a hardwood. A lot of times it's a wide board that can click together. It's very easy to install. It's water resistant, scratch resistant. A lot of people actually like it more than hardwoods. Plus, it's more cost effective. To install LVP floors, it'll cost somewhere between $2.50 and $2.75 per square foot. Now again, that includes the actual materials, that includes the glue, any kind of underlayment, and the labor that goes along with it, with possibly the trim if that needs to be replaced. The third type of flooring is replacing the hardwoods. If you have older hardwoods in your floor, this will be a great time to sand them down and refinish them. Most of the time, I'd recommend putting 3 coats of stain over the hardwoods once you sand them down. It'll typically cost about $3 per square foot to sand the hardwoods and have them refinished. Now, if you want to put in hardwoods, or let's say if you're sanding down the hardwoods already and you'd like to just extend a section maybe into your kitchen or into the foyer, you can add on some extra hardwoods. Typically, if you're installing new hardwoods, it'll cost $6 per square foot. Now that includes the materials for the hardwoods themselves and labor and the stain and everything all together. So $3 to refinish, $6 per square foot to install brand new flooring. If you need any kind of recommendations for painters, for any kind of contractors that can help you around the house, for flooring contractors, or you're thinking about renovating your home, or if you're thinking about selling it, or just sprucing it up to make it a little bit nicer, please call me. I'm happy to share all of my contractors and our whole vendor list. We'll be renovating so far on the books. We have 10 properties to renovate this year. And on top of that, we'll be probably doing another 14. So total this year in 2021, our goal is to renovate about 24 houses, specifically to fix and flip or to keep as a rental property. And if you need any kind of work done, please call me, let me know. I'm happy to share all the same contractors that do work for me, and they'll do a fantastic job for you. It was nice catching up. Again, Happy New Year to you, and we'll see you next month.